Hi, this is Ryan Phillips here. Beautiful Friday night in Las Vegas. Pretty good weather. Fun night at the club. Had a decent turnout. I want to start out by congratulating Diego Santiago for winning the reserve section or the under section. He won by plus 2 points over the field, so that's pretty tough to do in a 5 round event. So that bodes pretty well for his progress. I'm telling him he should already be in the open section with us, and I was asking him how much he charged for lessons today, but I don't think he understood quite what I meant. But he's playing real well, and all the young guys are playing well. Royce is playing phenomenal, just real awesome chess. Objectively, I think he's playing a little bit better than I am at the moment, to be honest. Just real good games, and everyone's been playing good. Glenn and Virgil had a good game tonight, so it was a good night at the club. So I had the black piece against Scott Raymond. He's a little over 1800. I think I was pretty busted out of the opening, to be honest, but he didn't really take advantage of that, and then I went on to win a pretty easy game. But I definitely think my opening play was suspect. I'm kind of curious what the computer says in this video, but I thought I saw quite a few better moves from him in the opening, and then throughout the whole game I thought either I was just feeling real good at the board today, or I just he just didn't understand the position that well, because I felt like just by the moves he was making, I could tell he was missing a lot that I was seeing in the position. So I guess that gave me confidence, and then the end was just a pretty bad blunder on his part to make the game a lot easier on me than it should have been. So I start off Sicilian, and then he went for a potential Smith-Morra gambit, but he hasn't fully declared his intentions yet. So C takes D4, and then the Smith-Morra obviously is I guess obviously for those who play it. For those who don't play it, Smith-Morra is C3. And then I'm not too familiar with all the lines myself. I very rarely accept the Smith-Morra. After C3, I usually play knight f6 and kind of transpose into a C3 Sicilian. Although if he played C3 immediately, I was tempted to play D5. I mean, I saw D5. I guess someone played this move against Ed, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm not sure if it's the best response to C3, but at least it seems like instead of white just playing the active game down a pawn, but with all the activity, it seems like in this line, at least both sides are trying to play an active game. So it's more of a slugfest than black trying to hang on to the extra pawn and stop white's initiative at some point. Anyway, so he played knight f3 first, and yeah, I'm not sure if he watches these videos, but I know I was commenting a few weeks ago on this variation how I played Chad in this line a few years ago, and I couldn't really remember the result, or I think he ended up winning that game, but I couldn't remember exactly what happened. So I don't know if he saw the video by any chance. I'm assuming he didn't, but it was kind of funny that we got into this line. And our computer is showing d6 as the main line, just transposing most likely back into kind of a possible knight orf, or just a more main line. So d6, and then knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and then we're back in a main line Sicilian where black has a few choices: a6 for knight orf, g6 for dragon, e6 Scheveningen. Boy, I always had trouble pronouncing that. But anyway, so black would have a few options in that line. But I went with the move that I kind of read in that Jeremy Silverman book a few years ago. I went E5. And for those who don't remember or just want a refresher, the point is that knight takes E5 is not playable because queen A5 check. Well, the drawback of E5 is I think that that white actually has a slightly better Smith-Morra gambit, because with the pawn advanced to E6, now the A2 G8 diagonal is much weaker for black. I can't really stop the scope of the bishop with E6 anymore, so it's kind of a significant drawback. So my opponent played C3 here, and then maybe already I played a very bad move that could have cost me the game. Computer's showing knight C6, but I didn't like this variation because I just thought this d pawn would be too weak. Maybe I could just get away with playing d5 at some point, but I didn't want to go into this variation because I thought white's structure was a lot better than black's, even though the computer's showing no advantage at all for white in this position. But I ended up accepting the gambit, and I guess this was a very risky decision apparently. So I already had the opening. I think this opening was poorly played by black. So knight takes c3, and then so black has a pawn, but white has a lot of compensation for it. The two knights developed already. The two bishops are open. The diagonals for the two bishops, for white bishops, are open, and black's position's real passive already. And then I think that I played this move, which should have. I think this should have been the nail in the coffin for me. I played d6, and my position is tough already. It's pretty suspect. So Scott played the best move here, bishop c4. And then computer showing knight c6, but I was worried. I was worried about knight g5. So I guess this is nothing to be worried about. So knight c6. Yeah, knight c6 would have been the best move. So the opening of this game for me was not very good. Once I kind of got out of the opening phase, though, I feel like maybe I gained some confidence or something since he didn't finish me off. So I played queen c7. And then I was expecting queen b3. And I was planning on playing h6 after that move. So this is kind of the variation I looked at during the game. I was going to play queen d8 here, I think, because I didn't see any good retreats for the knight on d5 that I had to be worried about. So I figured queen d8 might be maybe okay. So I definitely was expecting queen b3 here. But my opponent played queen d3, which the computer's actually showing that it likes, but I didn't care for this move too much. And then, so I guess white, I think it's obvious that white still has a better position here. But I didn't see any like immediate threats against me, so I felt okay. So I played bishop e7. And this is where I think my opponent kind of went wrong. I thought that knight b5 was a good move, and that I thought my position would be tough already. So I kind of had seen this is what I had seen. I thought black was already in trouble. So yeah, I mean, it just shows, even maybe I played the opening poorly. I'm sure it would be like could be a lot of criticism I play up to this point. But I thought, Scott played an interesting move order and kind of took me out of something I had memorized. Some of these variations I memorized pretty deep. So he gave me like a new challenge over the board, and I guess I didn't respond that well. So that was interesting. I guess d6 really was a bad move. I think knight c6 was pretty much forced. Anyway, so Scott kind of let me off the hook though with this move, knight to d5. I think on the surface it looks like a good move, but it's really not. I don't think there's anything I had to fear. So I played queen d8, which I thought this seemed like the only logical move to me. So I played this probably within 30 seconds. And then I was actually, I wasn't too worried about knight g5, even though the computer showing as the best move. I figured that this had to be okay. I'm guessing f4 is something. No, knight takes e7. Yeah, sorry if I'm going fast. I actually, I didn't look this deep at this line during the game, so I'm just trying to see what the computer's saying. So I guess the computer's just saying that even there's no material gain for white at the moment, but white still has a slight pull with the two bishops. Looks like the knight on h6 is out of play, and this knight on g5 looks pretty hard to dislodge. It looks like probably bishop e6 is the only way to get rid of the knight at some point. But yeah, I wasn't too worried. I mean, the computer's showing a half a pawn advantage for white here. But I figured that in this variation that I'd be okay. That I could, I'm still fighting. I'm not too bad. So I think he kind of let me off the hook a little bit here. He played bishop e3, which I thought was a pretty pointless move. So I apologize in advance if I'm critical of my opponent's playing this game, but I thought he did kind of play some moves that I found illogical. So I mean, he's a good player. He's drew Atlanta a couple weeks ago, and he's beaten some good players. I just haven't. I don't know if it's like a style thing. I'm not getting overconfident or anything, but I played him in a blitz game. I beat him pretty good. I just wonder if I have one of those styles that's tough for him to play against. Maybe the sample size is too small, of course, but it just seems like I seem when I play against him, it just seems like he's making a lot of second or third rate moves, in my opinion, and I seem to be able to exploit them. Of course, this game could have turned out totally differently if he had found some crushing moves like knight b5 instead of knight d5, for example. Could have been a different story. But luckily for me, he missed that move. So I'm playing pretty confidently already because I know he kind of lost his advantage. So he played. So I played knight f6 quickly, and then he played knight takes e7, which I thought was another bad move. And I know we're already at dead equality. So the only thing the thing I realized already is I got rid of my dark square bishop and my pawns are on dark squares. So structurally, I think I'm good. Even though I still have the backwards d pawn on a half open file for white, I'm up a pawn, and I didn't think the two bishops were too effective in this position. So I wasn't. I thought I had a playable game, and psychologically, even when it's computer evaluates it as even, that being up a pawn sometimes can get in your opponent's head a little bit. So my opponent played rook d1. And now my first instinct was castle, and then for some reason I rejected my first instinct for a minute. I wanted to play knight c6 before going back to castle again. I think the problem with knight c6 that I saw was I didn't like bishop g5, which apparently isn't too big of a threat. Yeah, in my head though, I thought bishop g5 was a strong threat because the whole basis for this continuation is I thought that after the after white won the pawn, the d pawn back, I could always play knight takes e4. What I was worried about in this position was was that instead of playing queen takes d6 first, that white could play bishop takes f6 and then grab the pawn. But I guess that's an even position too. I mean, the pawns would then be even, and it looks like I guess the position would still be fairly even. But I didn't want to just go for that position because I thought I could try to play for a win. So I figured this one would be good. So for example, the computer showing castle. I thought maybe like bishop here would be good. So apparently this is the move I missed during the game. I didn't see the effects of queen f4. So that looks like a good move at hitting the e pawn. It doesn't seem like it should be too difficult for white to stop that, but I guess it's more difficult than it looks. So this is the move I missed though. I was just looking at queen takes d6, rook takes d6, and I evaluated that as pretty even. I didn't see the full effects of queen f4. So this is kind of a good computer move, I think. I don't know, maybe someone's watching the video and was thinking queen f4 is the obvious move. To me, this doesn't seem like a natural human move. I mean, attacking a pawn's natural, obviously, but it seems like it's easy to defend. So I probably I didn't see the full merits of this move. So anyway, I went back to my first instinct of castle. I thought that was a slightly better move than knight c6. And then I was prepared for queen takes d6, queen takes d6, rook takes d6, knight takes e4. And I thought that would be slightly better for black, but the computer's showing it as level. So let me take a look at that real quick. Yeah, I thought this would be okay. So I missed the fork of the bishop on the e4 knight and the pawn on b7. So I don't know, like when you see it on the video, when you go ahead a move or two, it's so obvious. But I think that it would have been tough to see that far ahead. But that's something that's something that hopefully I'll get better with. Still trying to calculate the variations farther. So maybe he didn't play queen takes d6 because he probably was worried that he was going to lose a pawn or something. So he played castle. And then I continue with my development here. So I thought knight c6. I was torn between knight c6 and bishop e6. But I thought knight c6 after evaluating carefully was a little bit better. And then he played a move I wasn't expecting. He played rook f to e1, which yeah, I mean, I thought I just played a lot of second-rate moves, to be honest. I wasn't really sure what the idea behind that move was, so I kind of missed that. So my first instinct was to play bishop e6, but for some reason I didn't like this variation with knight g5. So this just kind of soured me on the idea of bishop e6 here. But that was probably illogical thought. I just thought I don't know, maybe too much general principle. I thought my light square bishop could be okay with the dark colored pawn center. But that was pretty. It didn't make much. My thought process didn't make too much sense, I guess you could say. I'm not really sure why queen c8 though is such a great move. Actually, then hitting the e4 pawn, or even rook d8 the computer's showing. So I don't know, this wasn't abundantly clear to me though during the game. So I played probably an inferior move. I played rook d8. It ended up working out okay for me, but I don't think it was that great of a move. And then he played knight g5. And then I'm basically stuck to play bishop e6 unless I want to move the rook back to f8, which I thought was kind of a waste. So I went with bishop e6. Knight takes. So we got a completely dead level game here though, even though pawn. But I thought he started to go astray pretty quickly here. So he played bishop b3. And then for some reason I wanted to play knight g4, which I ended up playing later, which I don't think it turned out to be a good move in the game. But I was worried about a couple. I don't know. I was just worried that it wasn't going to be that strong. I was worried about like bishop d2 and queen to h3, trying to pile up on the h pawn or on the e pawn. I'm sorry. But maybe knight g4 would have been okay. But I found the best move according to the computer. I played rook a to c8. Hold on. Let me go back one move. I guess I was worried about this. Actually, I was thinking that queen c4 might have been a interesting move here. So computer just showing rook e8 to defend the pawn. But I was a little worried about queen c4, and that's why I played rook a to c8. Was to answer the queen c4 idea with knight to d4. So I thought that was a good idea to find over the board. I was, it doesn't seem like the hardest idea maybe to put the rook on the same file as the queen, square the queen might move to, but I don't think it was that obvious of an idea. And it took me a while to realize that retreating the bishop back to b3 vacated the c4 square for the queen. So once I kind of figured out, my initial thought was maybe he wanted to put the bishop on c2 or something. I wasn't really sure what he was doing. Once I figured out that he wanted to put the queen on c4 possibly, then I think finding rook a to c8 wasn't that hard of a find. So my opponent played a3 here, which computer's actually showing as the best move. I thought this was I guess he's trying to stop knight to b4 or something, but I didn't really know what the point behind that move was. And here I think I played knight g4, which I don't think was a good move, but again it kind of worked out for me. I think the idea is to keep the knight on f6 to try to get the d5 push in. So I think playing d5 immediately is good. Or both these moves, right after I played knight g4, I thought that these two moves, king h8 and d5, were much better moves. So king h8 is logical just to get the king off the same diagonal as the white bishop. But I played knight g4, which I thought was a pretty weak move. And then I think at this point, though, I feel like I was seeing so many cool lines that I think my opponent was missing. I saw bishop g5 after I played knight g4. It would have been more impressive, of course, if I had seen these variations before I played knight g4. But as soon as I played knight g4, I was like, oh shoot, bishop g5 is a good move. The point being that queen takes g5, bishop takes e6. I thought even like queen h3 might be playable. I guess knight takes f2. Okay, so basically this is playable. I'm hitting the knight and still hitting the rook. So I saw bishop g5, and I don't know what I would have played, to be honest. I was debating between queen takes g5 or just admitting my mistake and playing the knight back to f6. I think I probably would have gone with the more cautious route and played the knight back to f6, and probably I wouldn't have been making any progress. Luckily and then I also saw this variation with bishop takes a7, which I thought was pretty interesting. Although I think this is good for slightly better for black, but it's interesting. Basically, I thought white would be getting two pawns. Would be getting two pawns, and they'd be giving up 2 pawns and a rook, and they'd be giving up 2 minor pieces. So I thought this was. I saw this over the board. I thought this was kind of interesting. So I saw this after I played knight g4. Unfortunately, I didn't see it before again. And it looks like I evaluated pretty well. The cool part is that knight on a6 protects the c8 rook. So that was pretty. I don't know. Everyone hates when I used to say there's luck in chess, so I try not to even make that argument anymore. But I think it was a little lucky that it worked out for me. But maybe not. I mean, maybe this isn't that great of an example of luck in chess. So anyway, yeah. So this is a half a pawn advantage for black, and I kind of evaluate it. I'm always happy when I'm always happy when not only do I see the line, a pretty cool line, but when I evaluate correctly. And this one, I think I evaluate spot on. I saw that bishop takes a7 was possible for white, but I saw that it was a little bit better for black, I thought. Anyway, though, he didn't play that. He played another pretty inferior move. He played bishop c1, which is just too slow. And then this just begs for knight d4, so the bishop retreats from the guarding the d4 square. So Marisa actually, I think, calls this drawback chess. Just find out what your opponent's last move, what the drawback of the move was, and in this instance, it was pretty obvious. I thought that the drawback is the bishop's not guarding the d4 square anymore. So now he got pretty obsessed with the keeping this bishop on this diagonal, so he played bishop a2. And I think life got kind of easy for black here. I played queen h4. And then Scott found the best move with queen g3, but I was really hoping for queen h3. And the computer evaluation is showing this is fantastic for black, which it is. But I think it's hard to see why. I mean, like if I just play queen takes h3 here, for example, I mean, this is pretty level. So obviously the variation that's probably popping out is, okay, queen takes f2, king h1. And then the only reason why this works is basically because I have the, I guess it's showing rook takes c1. Okay, but basically the only reason why this works is that I have this fork between the king and the queen with queen takes e1. And like I really don't think that Scott saw this as the reason why he didn't play queen h3. Maybe he did, maybe he like felt it intuitively. But he played queen g3 so quickly. I'm thinking he never even considered queen to h3 and looked at this variation. So I thought this was a very possible trap that my opponent could fall into. And then obviously after rook takes e1, knight f2 is just totally winning for black. And yeah, I was hoping that my opponent would fall into this. I thought it was very possible that like I could have seen him getting to this point, for example, and saying, oh man, it's really hard for the black queen to guard this knight, and just kind of stop at this point, and thought that he had a pretty good position. I mean, for example, if I played knight f6 here, it's it's a pretty even game again. So I was thinking he definitely could have fallen for this trap, but he played queen g3, which is the best move. And I didn't see anything better than take. I thought for a while, I saw this variation which doesn't even work, but I saw this, and you know, I realized I'm giving up too much material for this to work. And besides, he doesn't even have to play queen takes h4. Queen takes h2 is perfectly solid as well. So I was hoping that might work, but nothing really worked. And retreating the queen didn't seem like an option here, so I thought queen takes g3 is pretty much forced. And then my opponent captured with h takes g3. And then I wanted to provide protection for the e6 pawn, so I played king f7. And then my opponent played f3. So basically, I would like to play rook to c2 here, but obviously I can't because bishop takes e6. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, rook takes d4 first, then bishop takes e6. Sorry about that. So rook c2 doesn't work. So king f7 is pretty logical to try to put post the rook on c2. So my opponent played f3, and then I played knight f6. And then I was kind of expecting like f4 here. I thought f4 was a reasonable move. Try to play f4, f5, and I thought this put some pressure on me, since the e-pawn is pinned with the bishop on a2 to the king on f7. But my opponent played just an awful move here, which you know, just a terrible blunder. Ended the game in the next move. And it's funny because I kept thinking, like, I'm just waiting for my opponent to make a rook lift. It seems so natural that my opponent would want to make a rook lift in one of these positions, and I was just waiting and waiting, and then finally he did it. I don't know. I was reading, I know in like Super System by Doyle Brunson, he's talking about like the subliminal messages that you could send, especially in kind of these type of games where it's like you versus an opponent, where you could kind of, I don't know if I believe in this stuff, but he was I mean, I can't really argue with Doyle Brunson. He's had so much success. He really believes in this idea that you could put ideas in kind of your opponent's head. And I was thinking in my head, like, I hope he does a rook lift. I hope he does a rook lift. So I don't know. I don't know if I believe in that, but it seemed like this would be a good case for it for being true in this game. So he played rook d3, which is just terrible. And then sticking with the poker theme, I wanted to play rook takes c1 like an insta call, like a Phil Hellmuth would do, but I still wanted to make sure it worked. So basically, I just made sure after rook takes c1, rook takes c1, knight e2. I see after knight takes c1, I'm hitting both the bishop on a2 and the rook on d3. So I knew at that point that's obviously winning, and I don't even need to probably see that to know it's winning. But once I saw the knight on c1 would hit the a2 bishop and the d3 rook, it was obvious play rook takes c1. And there's no other way. There's nothing else for white to do. If white plays rook takes d4, for example, I just take the rook on e1 with check, and then grab the rook on d4. So after this move, rook takes c1. My opponent got up, so I don't know if he was like getting confident or if he was getting tired or what happened. It's weird, even though the computer evaluation was showing like a slight white edge in the beginning and then equality in the middle game. Since I got up that early pawn, psychologically it just felt like I was winning the whole game, and I don't know if Scott was like making some reactions or something that was interesting to me, but it just seemed like both of us knew the whole game I was winning, even though like if you look at the position I wasn't actually winning, but like the way the game was progressing and the way that I felt and the way that it seemed like he felt, it seemed like we both thought I was going to win, like it was kind of like an inevitable thing. So it was an interesting game psychologically, I thought. I know Ed talks about that. He says, and Glenn talks about this a lot. Glenn, I heard this from first, and then Ed, I've been hearing it from a little bit lately. Just like if you believe you're going to win, it's like magic. He says that that you're going to win, and I believe that to some extent. I definitely think like if you're confident in your abilities, that does translate into tangible results. So maybe this game I just seemed pretty confident, and I don't know, maybe. The only time I played Scott was like in a rapid game. I think it was like game in 15 or game in 20. We played at the Chessing Games, the now closed Chessing Games. I think it lasted probably 6 months. The business was open for. They did the Stan Vaughn tournament, and then they lost all their customers. Anyway, so I played him in that tournament, and I remember it was just like one of the best tackle games I played in a long time. So maybe I'm like in his head, he didn't think he had a chance against me or something. Anyway, though, so I played rook takes c1, and my opponent resigned. And yeah, I was pretty happy. I mean, the opening was dodgy. So I was happy to be able to survive that. He missed some moves that would have made life more difficult on me. But once I kind of equalized, I thought I steadily outplayed him after that. So all in all, I was pretty happy with the game. Again, the opening was terrible, so I need to work on that. But once I kind of got in the game, which I was fortunate for that to happen. But once that happened, it seemed pretty easy for me. I thought my opponent made a lot of second-rate moves. Bishop c1, even a3. Computer liked a3. I didn't like a3 very much. Bishop a2 I thought was weak, so just everything kind of fell in my lap at one point. But anyway, thanks for watching. Looking forward to playing again next week, and yeah, I've been getting a lot of compliments on these videos, so it's been awesome. I'm really glad I started doing this, and yeah, I'm real happy. I mean, it was a real good night at the club. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll make another video next week.